start. Hi, welcome everyone. It is a pleasure to be here again, and hopefully we will have a wonderful weekend. It's a marvelous start already. It's sunny here in UK, as you know, and couldn't be better with Kardec as well. Just let me increase that a little bit, so perhaps it will be better for you to see. And let's remember that the last Saturday, we were start to talk about, we end our study talking about people that believe or could not believe in God, the spirit, souls. And Kardec continued his explanation. And I love pretty much what he's going to say here now. It would be like trying to demonstrate the properties of light to a blind person who does not believe in the existence of light. It is a very tough one, isn't it? How are you going to explain to someone something that he or she cannot see, cannot feel, and does not know if it exists or not? The example he gives here, like speaking about light for someone that is blind, it's probably very difficult to understand what light is. Likewise, someone that really do not believe in spirits, do not believe in God or anything else, how can we speak about it? And he continues saying here that for spirit, manifestations are in fact only a fact of the properties of the soul. Do we believe that? Because let's pay attention to what he's going to say now. Thus, if we do not want to waste our time with our conversation partner, we will need to pursue another course of ideas. By accepting the basic principles not only as a probability, but as a proven, undeniable fact, then the existence of spirits will be a natural result. I understand that if we are here now, means that we believe in spirits. I don't believe, I hope that someone that's willing to learn about mediumship, study the medium's book, knows at least there is something. May do not know what it is, but knows there is something, believe there is something. Because this is the base for everything we're going to do here. If we do not believe, very unlikely a person will change their mind, very unlikely will profit for the benefit of this book, at least in the totality of the book. We must still determine if spirits can communicate with humans. That is, if they can exchange thoughts with them. Do you guys believe the spirits can interact with us?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a good start.
Can I ask a question there?
Of course. By the way, before you say, I would like to remind everyone, please feel free to do questions and comments as we go through the study, okay? Yes, go on.
Do you have to be a medium, ostensive? I think it's ostensive, you say?
Yeah.
What is that? To be able to have a direct communication? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me rewind a little bit my answer, because I was about to say to you. Okay. And let me start first. Remind us all that everyone incarnated is a medium. Because mediumship is organic.
Yeah.
So we all are mediums. But a number of people incarnated have a higher level of sensibility. And this level of sensibility that allow us to listen, to hear, to see, to interact with them. So if we do not possess that level of sensibility required to interact with them more ostensibly, we will not. We have or we don't have that sensibility. We may have the sensibility and we do not know. So then we can develop, we can embrace what we are, and then start to learn how to use that sensibility that perhaps you didn't even notice before. But if you do not have, you cannot buy off shelf. You won't get it if you don't have it. You may have your mediumship dormant over there, hidden somewhere, until the time that comes to surface. But if you don't, it will never come to surface because you don't have. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, good. Because if I didn't, please let me know and I'll try again. Okay?
Thank you.
So we all agreed here that we can interact with the spirits, right? But why couldn't they? What is a human being except a spirit imprisoned in a physical body? I'll tell you something here. I met a lot of mediums, ostensive mediums, that used to participate on mediumship meetings, that they were afraid about spirits, right? It was not only once, more than once. Yeah, I know the spirits, I believe in spirits, I'm working with the spirits, but I don't want to see them. I don't want to talk with them. Why? Because sometimes people forget that we are all spirits. The only difference is we are using a different body. And that's all. The essence is exactly the same. Likewise, I may find nice people, I may find bad people, I may find nice spirits and bad spirits. But we all could be any of them. It depends what we choose to be. So why couldn't a free spirit communicate with a captive spirit? Bear in mind that he's referring to us as a captive spirit. The spirit that is not in the physical body is free, and we are not. We have to obey laws that we are connected to our physical body most of the day.
Salut les loulous.
And we may get a little bit further, we may go a little bit away when we are sleeping, but we are exactly the same. Why couldn't a free captive? Okay, just as a free human can communicate with a prisoner. If we believe in the survival of the soul after death, would it be rational to deny the survival of its affection? And there's something that I like to say quite often. I passed that phase that I believe in spirits. I believe in spirits when I'm starting to know a little bit what it is. I believe in spirits when I start to study, when I start to making questions about it. But as soon as we have enough information, we had enough contact, we had enough practice, we move from belief to know, because it's something that becomes part of our lives. It's something that we interact with them, we do things with them. So it wouldn't be fair to me to say that I believe in spirits. It's more fair to me to say that I know they are there. They are here, and they are with you as well. In other words, since souls are everywhere, wouldn't it be natural to believe that a being who had loved us during life could approach us? That it might want to communicate with us and that would utilize all the means at its disposal to do so. Well, people say that the apple never falls too far from the tree, right? And that's not true. Because my daughter, she's really, really scared about spirits. Even to the point that I used to say to her that when I pass away, I will come to visit her. Not daily, but eventually I'll come to visit her weekly at least. And she asked me, please, do not do it. You will scare me to death. I know there are spirits, I believe in spirits, blah, 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 but please don't come to see me. That's my daughter. She's 22 years old. She's like that. So I try to explain to her exactly what is we just spoke here. We are spirits, incarnated or not. I may have a instrument to keep talking to her, to visit her from time to time, to tell her how much I love her. But she don't want to hear from me anymore. So it's on the end, it's down to individuals, right? But there is no magic in communications between incarnated and discarnated spirits. There is nothing out of the other world. It's a normal mechanism that we all can use. We all can have our experiences. And what can prevent us to have those experiences? Because it's like we are here, incarnated. I may decide to switch off my camera. I may decide to go away from that room. But very unlikely I'll be able to do that with a discarnated spirit. Because it's not what I want, it's also what he wants. So you need to keep that in mind. While it was living on the earth, didn't it act upon the matter of its body? Wasn't it up the person soul who guided the movement of his or her body? Then why after death would it be prevented from expressing its thoughts in conjunction with another spirit who is still linked to a body? Just as a mute uses a person who can speak in order to be understood. There is a common misunderstanding, even amongst experienced mediums, that when we are having a communication, written or spoken, psychography, psychophony, the spirit is inside us. Somewhere along the line, the spirits want to talk through us, and he jumps inside our bodies. And that's why he managed to speak through my body. This is wrong. It's not like that. And bear in mind that I won't say very often that something is wrong. But I'm saying, I'm using this word to prevent mediums to be scared and mediums to have a misconception of how the mechanism works. We have our perispirit, our spiritual body, that is embedded to our physical body. The way the communication happens, the perispirit, the spiritual body of the spirit that wants to communicate through us, comes closer to us. And then I have my perispirit closer to his or her perispirit, and that's the way the communication happens. It's not like in the ghost movie from Hollywood that the spirit just jump inside you and stay there, don't want to go. It's not like that. But within my experience in the past, mediums that used to work their mediumship for years, still had that misconception, right? So keep in mind, No spirit will jump inside you. It's just the proximity from you that will allow the communication to happen. Munir, am I saying anything wrong? You?
Okay, yeah, no, I couldn't find the cursor to the microphone. No, that's right, Guilherme. What we have to think is the difference between what we call a spirit, which is the spirit and the spiritual body, and us. It's just that we have the physical body and some dense kind of energy that allows the spiritual body to act directly upon the physical body. And those in the spiritual world, the spirits, they have that spiritual body, but their spiritual body can't act directly in normal circumstances in the physical body. So what they need to do is to interact with the medium's spiritual body, which is under the control of the medium, somehow ask permission. So this is the proximity, and then use the medium's spiritual body to act upon the medium's physical body. That's what you said in sort of different words. But it is necessary that there is this interaction between the spiritual body of the spirit in the spiritual world and the spiritual body of those in the physical body, the incarnate ones, and in case the medium, the medium's spiritual body, which is there. I mean, whatever they have in the spiritual world, we have here, plus the physical body and some dense energies to make the physical body and the spiritual body of us interact, so we can control, we can move our hands, we can, express ourselves in the physical world, get sensations from the physical world. Whereas, for someone who no longer has the physical body, they get impressions from their spiritual body. And if they want to communicate to the physical body, they need this kind of interaction. And as you said, it's not directly, pulling some strings, and moving the physical body, They need actually, in inverted commas, the permission of the owner of that body through his or her perispirit to make the communication, come through. Although some mediums, they are not aware of that, sort of, they leave the windows and doors open, so anyone can, go in and, mess about in their house. And when they realize, sometimes they, they have to discipline themselves, so they will, they won't be that free to do whatever they want.
That's very true. That's very true. Sometimes, Munir, when someone wants to study mediumship or medium's book, it's because he's already concerned about something that's happening with them. And I'm not controlling, it is happening in the work, it's happening on the streets or something. Yeah, that's quite normal. That's a kind of warning, it's a kind of massive call to the person to pay attention on the possibility, the capability to help others. But as soon as you start to study, you start to practice, you gain 100% control of those possibilities. So I've seen over and over people there had no control at all. After a period of time, yeah, she was quite happy to carry on because she knew when and how to use the mediumship.
Yeah, this is very important point, Guilherme. Some people realize that mediumship is there, it's very clear signs and everything. So they look for help, but what do they expect? To get rid of this or to learn how to use it properly, adequately? And I would say the second option is the one that, each one of us should choose, actually, to make good use of it, because it's something that we have. It's a kind of a gift, in inverted commas, that we have, something that for us is there, and it's very clear, and it is to be controlled, to be used, not just to, for us to get rid of it. Oh no, that was a mistake, that is something I don't want, or
Munir, quite often people ask for our assistance in regards to mediumship, right? And I have two questions that I use very often. What do you want? And what can I do for you? because depending on what the person wants, will be very difficult to help.
Yeah, I want to get rid of my mediumship.
You can't. I can't. Sorry, but I can't. Or at least I don't know how to do it. That's right.
Yeah.
And because we hear a lot of things that people may do that, but in the reality, it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. But people believe in what they want to believe. So we should respect what they believe as well. But the practice shows us that it's not like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty good. So let's move on a little bit more. Let us set aside for a moment the facts we consider to be incontestable. Let us believe in the communication with the spirits as a simple hypothesis. Let us ask these believers to prove us, not by a simple negative statement. Their personal opinion cannot be considered law, but through peremptory reasons that such communication is indeed impossible. Well, Kardec starts saying that we should not argue with someone that do not believe in the spirits, do not believe in God, because it's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy. But if for any reason you find yourselves in a contest, in a discussion, turn that question the other way around. Prove to me that they do not exist. Prove to me that God does not exist. So then we have a problem, because we cannot prove they exist, and the other side cannot prove they don't exist. So what should we do? Leave both ends at peace, let it be, and follow your path. It's the best thing I could say, really. Let us place ourselves on their turf. And since they want to observe spirits phenomena through physical laws, let them take some mathematical, physical, chemical, mechanical, physiological proof from their scientific arsenal and demonstrate by A plus B, but always starting from the principle of existence and survival of the soul. Look at how smart Kardec was. That's fine. We may be wrong. Like I said here in the beginning, I don't want to convince anyone. I'm not speaking the truth. I want everyone to think. I want everyone to come to their own conclusions. And look what Kardec says. Let them prove A plus B, and that's it. Perhaps we have to adapt ourselves if someone proves something different. That is the being within us who thinks during earthly life, no longer thinks after death. Let me talk about the first one then. Yeah, I don't believe in spirits. I don't believe in anything. To me, when I die, that's it. So then I have two questions. Why we are living for if there's nothing after? Why do I need to work? Why do I need to take care of my kids? Why? But the main question will be, why many of them, when they are coming closer to their existence on earth, they start to think about, what if? What's going to happen with me? Let's leave those questions open, because they may be handy in the future. Two, that if it does think, it no longer thinks of those whom it has loved. Means we talk a lot about love, right? Hi, Munir, go on.
I just want to say, also to add, on top of those who don't believe in survival, those who believe in survival, but when you die, you sleep until Judgment Day. And then with that, you no longer have any connection with the loved ones. You were just, someone who spent some time in your life, to whom you had strong bonds. But when you die, just go to sleep somewhere until Judgment Day. So we leave all those behind. And so it's interesting to see that, some people believe there's nothing. Some people believe you go there, you lose your memory, you lose your feelings, you lose everything. You just stay there sleeping into Judgment Day. If you go to hell, but your loved one goes, if you go to heaven, but your loved one goes to hell, it doesn't matter. It's your problem, not my problem, this kind of thing. So it's not just the case of those who don't believe in anything, but those who believe that, we die, that's it. All the relationship we had, the feelings we had to all others, it ceased to exist.
Let me give an example here about mediumship meetings. How many spirits come to us regularly describing that they are at their house, their apartment, their farm, and they are upset because no one can speak to them. No one can hear what they're saying. And they are unhappy because someone is doing something within my house that I never gave the authorization for, something that wasn't meant to be. And we have, I cannot even count how many examples we have through mediumship practice, mediumship meetings over the years. And a lot of them, they are there giving us support, looking after us, sort of. And we also have some of them not happy with what we do, but they are there. They are there. Reminding everyone, if you want, anyone want to make any questions and jump in, feel free to do so, okay? Let us place ourselves on the turf. Oh, sorry, go on. Number 3, that if it doesn't think of those whom it has loved, it nonetheless does not wish to communicate with them. Well, given the discount of my daughter, I think that I would like to speak to my kids, to my father, to my mom, if I can. I would like to know if they are okay or not. I would like to hear from them from time to time, right? Because where the love goes, that if it can be anywhere, it wasn't to be. It cannot be right here beside us. We know that we are surrounded by spirits all the time. All the time, believe or not, but we are. So they can be right next to us at this very moment. That by means of its fluidic body, it cannot act upon inert matter. This item number 6, we could go a bit deeper, but we will speak in length through our study, right? But the spiritual body may and can interact with the matter. That if it can act upon inert matter, it nonetheless cannot act upon a living being. If the spirit can act on matter, why cannot act on humans to a certain extent? Why? Let them prove that they cannot. That if it can act upon a living being, it cannot guide his or her hand in order to write. And then we have, I like to give examples from time to time. And if this spirit cannot use human beings to write, how can you explain that a medium that never learned how to speak Japanese, for example, never had any proximity with the language, is able to write a letter, a book in a Japanese language? If you find any reasonable explanation, come on, bring it forward. How is that possible? Basically what he's saying here. And by the way, it happens. That's called xenoglossy, okay? When we speak, someone write in a different language that we do not know. That if it is able to thus write, it cannot respond to questions or transmit its thought. So if you pay attention on those 9 questions, they're all following a logic. They are all pushing us to think, use our reason. So that's what Kardec is telling us. If you are in a discussion, act on this way. When Spiritism adversaries demonstrate to us that none of this is possible using reasons as obvious as those used by Galileo to prove that the sun does not spin around the earth, then we will admit that their doubts are well-founded. So if any of you can prove under some reasoning, A plus B, that spirits don't exist, God don't exist, the means of communications between incarnate and discarnate does not exist, we have to consider that you may have found something that we should pay attention. We should understand. Perhaps we are wrong. And we should always keep that in mind, keeping ourselves open to new possibilities, to new understanding. But until today, unfortunately, the entire argument may be summed up in these words. I do not believe in it, so it is impossible. Funny enough, there are almost 200 years passed, and it's still the same. Still the same. Even scientists nowadays that believe they are close to God than to humans sometimes, they cannot say they don't exist. Or at least they cannot prove they don't exist. Undoubtedly, they will retort that it is up to us to prove that the manifestations are real. However, we have already given them such proof both through the phenomena and through reason. If they refuse either, and if they even deny what they have seen with their own eyes, then it's up to them to prove that our reasoning is faulty and that the phenomena are impossible after all. Well, we are ending this chapter. Any comment, any question before we move on? I guess not.
I just want to add something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see very clearly how Kardec uses logic and how he uses reasoning actually to the way, even the way the Greeks, he reminded very much when he started, you know, with an assumption and saying, well, this is true. Let's see if it makes sense. So he used logic to do it. In science, we prove very little, but people who are very much stuck to the scientific methodology, they only allow themselves to think and believe in things that they can prove. Beyond that is just speculation, but they don't ask themselves questions that go beyond what they can prove. Although sometimes you see, no one has ever seen an electron, but everyone talks about the electron, makes calculations considering the electron, and and any other subparticle, atomic particle. They have models. They indirectly they realize, yeah, it is possible because it makes sense. Black holes. No one has ever seen a black hole. What they do is that, oh, there's probably one there because that far away we can observe these and we can observe that. But when it comes to spirit, people bring that religious, how would I say, sour memory from the past, and they don't allow themselves to think beyond that. And most of us who are not used to scientific methodology, we also prefer to believe in things that we like, that we prefer, instead of use reasoning and saying, well, just like Kardec did, well, is it possible to communicate? Why not? So let's assume, yes, it is possible to communicate. Well, what kind of communication? You know, this type of sequence, you know, development of ideas and logic and reasoning that allows us to go beyond what our senses can perceive. And that's why the medium's book is scientific in that aspect. The way Kardec treats the subject.
Munir, you may remember who was the scientist who said, I think it was Einstein, but I'm not sure, that science do not evolve. The scientist die. And then the one that is there is able to convince what he believes. So he's not accepting all the scientists' way of thought. But when he died, he's not there to defend himself anymore. And then something else is coming.
Yeah, I didn't remember who said that. But yeah, someone else's idea will prevail when that one is gone, you know, that scientist is gone.
Funny.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on then for the, what time is it? I'm not paying attention on time. Yep, 11:08. So the extraordinary and the supernatural, chapter 2, right? In the belief in the spirits and their manifestations were an isolated concept, the product of a theory, then it could certainly be suspected of being illusory. Let me remind you all here that at that time when Kardec wrote the book, even today, there is a lot of means to fake something. Today we call that fake news, right? But at Kardec time, they were able to reproduce some of the signs that were common to the phenomena, but they were fake as well. So that was something that haunted Kardec for his existence, because there were a lot of people saying that they were mediums, they could see, they could whatever, and they were just theatrical, they were not real. So as ever, Kardec always push us to analyze everything in details, to be thorough before we assume yes, it is or is not. And this book, the Medium's book, gives us massive guidance to help us to identify what it is and what is not. But who can explain to us why it may be found to be so alive among all ancient and modern cultures and in the holy books of all known origins? There are some works talking about mediumship in other religions, in time, within cultures. We are not going to explore that here, but as it is an organic thing, and assuming humans were organic from day one, so through existence, we had tremendous amount of examples. And for some reason, people decide to interpret as they would like to. Sometimes ignoring something so obvious, sometimes even forbidden people to communicate with the spirits. I think Moses did that, isn't it? So how can he forbid something that does not exist? Right? So it's just one question. I don't want to go deeper. That's not the goal. But you cannot forbid something that does not exist. Otherwise, we have a conflict of impressions or interests sometimes. Some critics claim that it is because through history, humans have loved the extraordinary. Then we must ask, what do you mean by extraordinary? And they would reply, whatever is supernatural. But what do you mean by supernatural? Whatever, in contrary to the laws of nature. Then you are so knowledgeable about those laws that you know how to set limits on the power of God. Very well then. Prove that the existence of spirits and their manifestations are contrary to the law of nature. That is not and cannot be one of those laws. Follow the Spiritist doctrine and see if all the links of the chain do not display all the characteristics of an admirable law which resolves everything that philosophical principles have been unable to resolve until. Let me stop here. Let's move to science a little bit. We believe in everything we could prove so far. What we could not prove so far, they are called theories. Eventually, some theories can be proved. Eventually, some theories are proved to be wrong. Okay. Do we know every single law of nature created by God? I don't think so. I think something like 2 years ago, scientists in US, they found a new organ in the physical body, a small gland in our neck. We thought we knew everything, and they found something else. Now, with the power of the internet, with the power of the computers, we are finding more and more things, not only on Earth, but out in space as well. Do we know every single law of the universe? We don't. And when we have people trying to find life outside Earth, they are looking for life like we know. The chemical products we know, matter as we know. But we know very little about everything still. We are learning. We are childs. So here we go. Does supernatural exist? Or is just my own limitation? Because if everything follows a law, otherwise we would live in a mess. The universe would be a mess. So I prefer to understand that everything on the universe follows a law. So it's better to understand that I don't know all the laws. And what I don't know, I will say does not exist, or I will say is supernatural. Though is one of the thought is one of the attributes of the spirit. The possibility of a spirit act upon matter, of it is impressing our senses, and therefore of it transmitting its thoughts to us, is a consequence, if we may so express ourselves, of its own physiological constitution. We have a hard time to think what we are when we are not in the physical body anymore. Are we just a thought moving from left to right? Or we have bodies, we have an organism, we have our love. We'll see that further. But we need to understand that this possibility of communication is between two spirits, and the body is just another factor in the equation. The equation of the mediumship is a lengthy equation. Many factors contribute for an ostensive mediumship, and the physical body is one of them, one of the factors. Hence, There is nothing supernatural or extraordinary about this fact. However, the idea that a person who is absolutely dead could be corporeally resuscitated, that his or her scattered remains could be rejoined to establish a body, well, that would be extraordinary, supernatural, and fantastic indeed, and would certainly be a true derogation that God could only accomplish through a miracle. There is nothing like that in the Spirit's doctrine, however. Why he's saying that? If we accept a communication between two spirits, is one thing. If we do not accept, because it's not possible, he's bringing an example. What would not be possible is to resuscitate someone. Because when the spirits move away from the physical body, it will rotten. It will disappear. There's no other way to reconstruct matter. Once it's gone, it's gone. So that is against a logic. And he brought that to us to show us that the Spiritist doctrine does not have such a thing. It's based on reasoning. Nevertheless, they will say, you claim that a spirit can lift a table and hold it up in the air without any support. At the time when we had the turning tables in Paris, in US, the table would lift from ground with no one holding it. How would that be possible? Yeah, but at that time, there are a lot of people saying, yes, that was possible because we could see. But we could not explain how that was possible. Isn't that a derogation from the law of gravity? Do we know 100% how the law of gravity works? Yes, from that law as we have known it. But has nature already spoken her last word? I think that's still valid for nowadays. Before the experiments involving the lifting power of certain gases, who would have thought that a heavy object carrying several persons could overcome the power of gravity? Around that time, in Paris, was the first time a gas balloon in the Occident world has taken off. And everybody thought that was not possible. And they've proven that a gas balloon was able to lift people and to move around Paris. Wouldn't that at first have seemed extraordinary or diabolical to a common individual? I like that here pretty much. Why I like that pretty much? Because everything we do not know, everything we fear, we like to create a label. On the spiritist phenomena that we do not believe and we have fears, it's easy to say that's from devil, it's diabolical. It's also fair to say that a lot of people with a different understanding of those matters helped that conception. A lot of people being burned because of those conceptions. So what about us? We are in the 21st century. Do we still believe things like that are diabolical? And we saw already that devil does not exist. It's just in spirit. With bad choices, by the way. But what are the labels we create to ourselves? A century ago, however, proposed to transmit a telegram to a distance of 1,500 miles and receive the response in only a few minutes would have been considered crazy. Remember that the example that Kardec is giving to us is a telegram, right? He wouldn't think about what we have today. He wouldn't think about what we have today. It would be impossible to think. And if that had actually occurred, everyone would have believed that such a person had had the devil under his or her order, because back then only the devil was capable to traveling so quickly. Well, I think that is a nice sentence. I won't say a lot. I'll move on. Oh dear. Under certain conditions, then, why couldn't an unknown fluid possess a property that offsets the effect of gravity on a table, just as a hydrogen offsets the weight of a balloon? We should note in passing that this is only a comparison, not a simulation, made solely to show by analogy that the lifting of a table is not physically impossible. And nowadays, we have a better understanding of some mechanisms like ectoplasm, energy, and things like that, that explain how things like that are possible. It was precisely when learned individuals, upon observing such a type of phenomena, wanted to proceed by means of a simulation that they were led astray. The phenomenon exists nonetheless, and all the denials of the world cannot make it otherwise, because denial does not constitute proof. For us, there is nothing supernatural about it, and that is all we have to say about it for now. Denial, that word denial is very live, because we deny everything we don't like. And Kardec will show us through his work that we have the right to deny anything we want, but it would be much better if we understood what are the laws, the mechanism behind everything we deny. If the fact of the phenomenon is proven, what time is it? Oh, it's about to finish. I'll just start this one here, and next week we start from here again. We'll just mark here before I forget. If the fact of phenomenon is proven, they will say, then we will accept it, and we will even accept the cause you attribute to it, i.e., an unknown fluid. But who can prove that spirits are involved? That is what is extraordinary and supernatural. When we don't want to believe in something, we simply do not believe. We do not believe. And oh, so many people in the room. I didn't realize we had so many people in the room. And am I right to say that over and over, through our life, through our experiences, we face ourselves in discussions